just went on. Thank you. Sorry.
How are we doing? And whenever you guys are ready for me.
You're almost there, Kathy. You're almost there.
See the way I pay my own bills at home. It's like, you're real fun.
Very good.
Okay. Sorry about the delay. We'll be right there. Just.
Did you take one for Katie?
Oh, yeah. I need one more. All right. There we go. All right. We're good. Oh, where's John? Sorry about that. Thank you for joining us. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of 6/9/2026 and the special Board of Education meeting on 6/17/26. All those in favor? Oh, Steve, Kathy, all those in favor? Okay, resolution passes. Okay. Mr. Hanley.
Good evening. So Dr. Farrelly is wearing her proud mom hat. She's attending her daughter's graduation or moving up ceremony tonight. And as we close out the school year, Dr. Farrelly would like to take a moment to share the following statements. She's delighted to introduce Karen Horozewski, hopefully I said that correctly, as our incoming Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations. Please join me in giving her a warm welcome to the WB community. We would also like to extend our deepest appreciation to Victoria Galante for her dedicated service as an interim for the past 18 months or so. We are truly grateful for her support during this period of change. We recently honored our 5th grade students at their moving up ceremonies and are excited to celebrate our upcoming 8th grade moving up and our 12th grade graduation ceremonies later this week. Please keep in mind that these events will be available for everyone to view via our live stream on the school district's YouTube channel. In addition, if anyone has any specific questions relating to their child's UPK lottery placement or UPK offerings, please call Mr. Payne's office or the registrations office, and they will be happy to assist you. To conclude tonight's remarks, Dr. Farrelly would like to express her sincere gratitude to the entire WB staff and faculty for the dedicated support of our students and community throughout the 25-26 school year. She would also like, and we would also like, to extend a special thanks to Grace for her leadership as our student ex officio member. And also Kathy for her 15 years of service to the board. And finally, Dr. Farrelly would like to acknowledge the PTA for their continued partnership and thank the Board of Education and our community for their unwavering support throughout the school year. And that is it for this portion of the agenda.
Grace?
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I would just like to say a big thank you to all of the members of the Board of Education, Dr. Farrelly, Mr. Hanley, Mr. Payne, everybody for being so welcoming to me and making me figuring out this new position much easier. I appreciate it, and I'm going to miss you guys.
Does that sound like you're coming back for another year, maybe?
Oh, maybe to visit.
But maybe a visit, or maybe a future board member. All right.
Did you have anything?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Rob,
don't
did you-
bring it up.
Are you talking?
No.
Oh, all right. All right, where are we at here? Okay. Mr. Hanley?
Okay, so tonight we have one update or a presentation from Cullen and Danowski, our external auditors, who will be discussing our audit planning presentation.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Welcome, Karen. This is great. It's always a pleasure to visit the district. So This is one of two meetings that we're required to have. This is our audit planning meeting. So we have this every year, and then when we complete the financial statements, we come back and we make that presentation, typically in October, and we go through a lot more detail. Let me just walk you through this presentation. I gave you some handouts. I just want you to look at the overview first. I'll tell you what's covered in this presentation, and then we'll walk through some of the areas. First, we're going to talk about the engagement objective, and that really talks about our opinion and the reporting on the financial statements. Then we'll talk a little bit about the audit engagement, what it is and what it's not. Want to be very clear with respect to what an audit is. Then our responsibilities are going to cover our professional standards that we follow. Then we'll talk about the district's responsibilities. They're quite lengthy, right, because they have to provide us with all the information that's necessary to prepare the financial statements. We'll talk a little bit about significant audit risks, which are typical across most school districts. We'll also focus in on one particular area for this particular district. Then we'll talk about the audit methodology and the approach. That's the phases where we come in. We've already been here for the interim phase. We'll be coming back for the substantive work, and we'll talk a little bit about that timetable. Then we'll review an accounting standard that was implemented last year. It's year 2. That's GASB 101 for compensated absences. We'll talk briefly about that. There is a new accounting standard that's out there, GASB 103. That's really important, and I think it's very useful, so we'll touch upon that. And then one of the accounting standards that's coming down the pike. So turning to page 1, the engagement objective. The engagement objective is to issue an opinion. In the past, we've issued an unmodified opinion, which means we attain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are fairly stated. In addition to that, we also have to report on compliance with laws and regulations, since the audit is conducted in accordance with government auditing standards. In the event that we have any findings related to that, we would report that to you. I'm happy to say that we've never really had any findings with respect to that. Additionally, the district does get federal funding. Last year it was about $3.2 million. Major program was child nutrition. No issues with respect to that, but that requires some additional compliance reporting and the issuance of a federal single audit report. Moving on to page 2, the audit engagement. So we just want to be clear with respect to an audit engagement, right? We're not here to test your internal controls. We'll review the internal controls. We don't rely on them. We also do sampling. We set materiality. We don't test every transaction, so we just have to be very clear with respect to what the audit is and what it's not. Page 3, our responsibilities. There's certain professional standards that we have to follow. So we have to follow generally accepted auditing standards as well as government auditing standards, which I previously mentioned. In addition to that, there's single audit and OMB guidance. That's Office of Management and Budget. Additionally, we have to have these required communications. So we meet today on the planning meeting, and if you have any questions after we get through this, please mention them, and then we come back and we present the financial statements. The other thing that's really important to understand as external auditors, we have to maintain independence. So what does that mean? That means that we can't perform management's functions and we can't make management's decisions. So if it relates to a budget or something like that, that's strictly management, but we're definitely here for technical advice. Moving on to the district's responsibility, page 4. So the district has to provide us with a lot of information, right? In order for us to prepare the financial statements and assist them and complete our audit, they have to make people available to us. They have to make sure that the internal controls are functioning properly. They have to oversee our preparation of the financial statements. And when everything is said and done, they have to provide a rep letter saying that they provided that information in order for us to complete the audit. Page 5 talks about significant audit risks. So this is typical across most audits, especially in school districts, right? We always have revenue recognition and management override. Management override basically is the ability of management to make decisions because of the positions that they're in. So we look at the journal entries that they record, especially close to year end. We'll look at the estimates that they apply to make sure that they're reasonable and fairly stated, to make sure that there is no unusual management override. Revenue recognition is standard across any audit, whatever industry you're in. In the school district industry, the big revenue items are property taxes, state aid, pilot. On top of that, the districts have fund balance and reserves. So it's very important that we review the reserves, review that they're authorized and utilized appropriately in accordance with general municipal law and education law. So those are some of the aspects of the things that we look at. So those are significant risks that we apply more procedures to make sure that that's good. In addition to that, you've had some CVA settlements that in the past. So again, we have to look real closely at that to make sure that that's recorded properly. You also get some federal grants that have compliance requirements, so we'll look at that. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we do have to implement GASB 103 this year, which is the financial reporting model, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. So we do this in 2 phases. This is the audit methodology. We're on page 6 now. We come in and we do our planning phase, right? We do. It's actually, I say it's almost like 3 phases. We do planning at the office, right? Then we come in and we do our interim phase here, where we review the narratives, the internal controls, get an understanding of things, finalize our risk assessments for our audit approach, right? So we did that in May. Now we're going to come back and we're going to do, on the next page, we're going to do our substantive work when the books are closed. So that's where that's the heart and the meat of the audit, where we're actually looking at transactions, looking at stuff, making sure things are recorded properly so that we can opine upon the financial statements. All right, so this covers a bunch of the areas. We'll look at payroll, we'll look at revenue recognition, as I mentioned, reserves, and a bunch of other areas, including some annual reports that you're required to get for OPEB and pension liabilities. The next phase will be the completion of the audit. So that is when we come back here, we present the audit to you in October. Once we go through that and you review that and you approve that, we then submit the necessary information up to the state. The only thing that we have to do after that will be the federal single audit, which is due 9 months after year end. So that's due in March of 2027. Any questions so far?
In the audit, do you also go back to anything you found previously?
Yes. So one of the things that we do as part of the audit is we'll look at the prior year management letter.
Okay.
Right. So that's where we make recommendations to strengthen internal controls. So we'll see what the update is on that. In addition to that, during our phases of not only the the planning, but also the interim phase as well as the year-end phase, if we come across anything that we think we should make recommendations for, we'll also present them at the October meeting, in addition to the financial statements. Again, it's all about assisting the district and making sure that the things are important and controls are operating and functioning as they should be.
Does that part of the audit coincide? Do you look at the plan of action that we approved?
Yes. We also look at the corrective action to make sure you implemented it, and because a lot of times you'll have a corrective action, but it might not be fully implemented, so we'll report on that.
Right. And then you also had done a safety audit at one point, I remember.
That might have been the internal auditors.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. So that's good though. Yeah, because you know what? I think what I find interesting about school districts is you have so many controls that are in place, right? You have a claims auditor that's looking at the claims. Then you have an internal auditor that comes in where you decide what areas you want them to look at and focus on. And then you have it overlaps with the external auditors. So it's all good stuff, I think. I think it's important that you have all of this. The timetable, as I mentioned, we were here in May. We didn't have any issues. I think there's some things that we just have to tie down a little bit. We will be back in a split phase for the year-end work based on timing and scheduling of staffing at the district. We'll be here August 19th through the 21st, and then back to 24th and the 25th. That's where we do our year-end field work. Then we'll go back to the office, help prepare the financial statements, and then we'll be ready for the October meeting, where we'll present that in a lot more detail, where I go through key indicators with you that I think are really important for the district to know. Moving to the accounting standards, I think I went through this last year at length with you. GASB 101, the compensated absences. Typically, bargaining units are required to pay out a certain amount per the contract. However, GASB 101 implemented an additional requirement where some of the time that's accumulated might be taken in sick days, and some historical analysis needs to be done to make sure that we incorporate that into the long-term liability. We did that last year. We'll have to follow up with that this year. The new standard this year, which I think is really useful, and usually I'm not a big fan of the GASB sometimes because you know what, they have these onerous requirements, but this one is GASB 103. It's the financial reporting model, and what it's really doing is it's enhancing the financial statements by making the district report on what their budget is and what their original budget is, what their final budget is, and what's the reason for that, in addition to what your budget is to your actual and what's the variances for things like that. So it's done in 2 sections. In the MD&A, it's going to enhance the MD&A to give significant explanations as to why things went up and went down, and then also some supplementary schedules in the back where you'll look at original budget to final budget, what's the variance there. And it's very useful for a user of a financial statement, and I think it's important to include that within the financial statement. So I happen to be a little bit of a fan of this. We'll work with the district on what we consider significant. I mean, it's really something that the district should be deciding on. We can't really make that decision, but we'll give them some assistance and technical assistance as to what areas they should be looking at, what percentages would be something that would be significant.
How is that presented to the board? Is it
So
layman's terms, or is it?
Yeah,
is
no,
it-
absolutely. So what happens is, what I can add for you this year is typically, I don't know if you remember my presentations, we kind of go through each one of the funds, the major funds, then we go through the reserves.
Right.
We'll also talk about any significant variances, and I typically do that anyway. I'll tell you actual variances, what it was last year, what it was this year. But if there's something significant in there, I will definitely highlight it. And it's included within the financial statements, but they're very lengthy.
Okay.
But I will definitely highlight them for you
Yeah.
in the event that there's something significant that you should be aware of.
Yeah, because we have access, obviously, to ask questions
Yeah,
before, after meetings.
Yeah.
Whereas the public's only going to hear, for the most part, how it's presented. So if there's any opportunity to try and
Absolutely.
alleviate
Yeah.
as many questions.
We
as
will. We'll
possible.
make sure that we do that.
That's great.
The next statement that's applicable is 104. We pretty much incorporate this into our financial statements already. It's just a layout of how the disclosure for certain capital assets. The only thing that's new here would be if the district had assets held for sale, they would have to classify that separately within the financial statements. I don't believe you have anything like that. That's sometimes as a building for sale, you would just have to classify that. And then the new one that's coming down the pike next year is just subsequent events, and that just essentially tells you when you're required to either recognize a subsequent event or disclose a subsequent event. Nothing real new here. It's just some enhancements. We can cover it a little bit more next year, but we typically always disclose subsequent events, and we evaluate them currently, in our financial statements. This would just be a minor enhancement. So with that said, I don't know if anyone has any questions or any concerns regarding the upcoming audit. But feel free. It's your forum right now to ask. If not, I will see you back in October, and we'll go through a lot more detail. All
be
right?
here.
So I'll be here a little bit longer. I hope you don't mind.
We'll be here. And Kathy, come back for it, please. No?
Yes, I'm looking
Good.
forward to working with Karen,
All right.
too.
Awesome.
So. Great. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you very much.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Okay, statement of residence on agenda items only. Any resident wishing to share a statement, please state your name, address, and any organization you may represent. You can also write this information on an index card and give it to the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations. Comments about individual students or employees are not permitted. Each resident will have up to 3 minutes to speak, with a total of 15 minutes allotted. Responses will be given after all statements. Questions needing further research will be addressed at the next meeting. Okay, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Steve, Kathy, all those in favor? That's everyone? Okay. Any old business? New business? Okay. Kathy, I do want to say congratulations on taking a break. I'll call it a break. But thank you for your service. It's should be acknowledged. It's a lot of work, and I appreciate you getting through it and doing everything you've done. Thank you. Okay. We need, all right, statement of residence. Any resident wishing to share a statement, please come to the podium, state your name, address, any organization you may represent. Sure. You can also write this information on an index card and give it to the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations. Comments about individual students or employees are not permitted. Each resident will have up to 3 minutes to speak, with a total of 15 minutes allotted. Responses will be given after all statements. Any question needing further research will be addressed at the next meeting. Okay. Okay, we need a motion to adjourn public session and enter into executive session to discuss individual contract matters. John, Anthony, all those in favor? Okay. All right, thank you very much.